Hello and welcome to Geek and Biscuits with Grant and Dan. That's me. I did it the other way around today. I don't know why. I'm just excited, mate. I'm just excited.
Mate, hello. See, we've both got the
Hello.
Yoda disease.
Speaking of which, we're going to be talking about the roundup of Star Wars news from the recent Disney Investor Expo. There's been a lot of information pumped out very, very rapidly.
Yeah, so much.
Afternoon. Yeah. So I mean, it's Disney have had to put certain things out because obviously the COVID has sort of decimated the cinema. So they've sort of relied heavily on Disney Plus, and obviously the investors want to know where the money's going to come back. It is a business at the end of the day. So Disney
it makes sense to do this as well, just for the fans, because you'll get people that maybe subscribe to Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, and when that ends, they might just unsubscribe. But also, if you know you've got a lot of content coming, and it is a real amount of content coming, then I think that puts a lot of goodwill maybe into a lot of people that are currently subscribed to it and pay for their subscription. So hopefully, seeing little sneak peeks and reveals will hopefully keep them invested as well for Disney.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think we're not even talking today about the whole Marvel slate, which is a huge amount. And the sort of announcement Hocus Pocus 2 is finally happening. All these great things that Disney are just throwing everything out there. We're going to talk about Star Wars specifically. And so shall we get into it? Shall we see what's new, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that was announced, which is probably the one that most people were looking forward to, is the limited Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Oh, mate.
And the big news is that Hayden Christensen will return as Darth Vader. So, because I think we knew Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, obviously, but that's pretty big news.
That is big news, and I think what Christensen was hanging around Disneyland before it shut down. He went to Galaxy's Edge, and some stuff was thrown up on social media that was quickly taken down. So everyone thought originally that was because they assumed he was going to have involvement in Rise of Skywalker. So it looks like they already knew about this. Scripts were being written, and Kenobi took a bit of a turn because originally it was going to be a film, I think.
Yeah.
And then that didn't sort of work out, and I think that's down to Solo not being successful.
Yeah.
And it sort of retooled into this, I think, a limited series. But for me,
it's two movies.
Yes, two movies, and McGregor coming back, wanting to do it and being excited about it is more than enough to get me excited because, it's the prequels. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, like privately, and that Star Wars. I openly love anything to do with Star Wars, even Star Wars at its worst. But just having Ewan back as Kenobi is just, I'm there. Premiere day, I'll be watching. What about yourself? Are you excited about that?
I am, because I really enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. I think the prequels go up and down in quality, but the thing that never wavered is the vision and the storytelling of those films. And I think Sith was a nice pathway back into the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So I think having something that continues after the prequel trilogy, and it again is like an extra little bridge to the original trilogy. With, like you said, with more Ewan McGregor, with more. We've got this big time period between episode 3 and episode 4, almost like the huge time period between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Now, there's just so much possibilities for stories in there and things like that. So I think getting to see everyone's favorite or one of everyone's favorite Jedi is, it's a no-brainer really for me. So
I think I think roughly the rumors are it's set 8 years after the end of Sith. So there's still well within to that. There's at least another 10 years before we get to New Hope. So there's still a lot of scope, which is great because obviously I don't think you've seen Rebels, but there's a really nice payoff in Rebels between Kenobi and Maul.
At the campfire,
it just ends their story off. It's quite a nice respectful scene between them. So just playing in that time period, which is I think everyone's favourite time period, is leading into that the original trilogy.
Well, it's underrated time period because for once the bad guys are winning. Yeah, and they're winning until over almost the course of 3 original movies. So in this scenario, they were in full. The Empire was full strength. It was fully fledged. It was middle of all the tyranny. So I think it's quite a good background because there's going to be potential for a lot of stories and to come out and branch out from this. It's got a lot of potential for me, and the fact that it's limited, I think again it's 2 movies worth. So when people might be wanting like a Mandalorian or a series to look for every week, actually it's at least it's going to be focused and it's not going to be like we can build on that later. It's giving them some like an actual time frame to work towards, and and you just never know what comes from it. If it's really successful, who knows what the future? We might get another Obi-Wan tale when Ewan McGregor's a little bit older as well, and we can actually transition from him being an old man to Alec Guinness.
All good stuff, mate. So what we've got next? What's next?
Well, next was the there was 2. There was the Ahsoka TV series with Rosario Dawson, obviously just guested in The Mandalorian, and the Rangers of the New Republic, and that's an original series that not much is known about, but both series are supposed to take place during the same time period as The Mandalorian, and good news for fans is that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are both overseeing production.
Yeah, well, you can't grumble about that. Star Wars insane fans for those 2.
Yeah, exactly. So again, there's not much about any of it, is there really? I think it is those 2 names that will get everyone excited.
Yeah, I think sort of if Ahsoka's spin-off, if it starts where her appearance ends, there's potential for a lot of ground to be covered. Her final appearance in Rebels is not necessarily set before Mandalorian, so there's a potential for an end point. Dave Filoni said that he's, the time scale is not necessarily linear for those bits because there is a time jump. And at the end of Rebels, Ezra goes missing, and it's set before the Battle of Yavin, but then the coda at the end is set post Return of the Jedi. So again, there's quite a gap. So but they don't say how far after Return of the Jedi this is. So there is potential. There's a lot of scope to fill in. You could do probably 7 seasons worth. In the knowledge that we don't quite know where in Ahsoka's timeline these events are happening. And she's a fan favorite. Rosario Dawson did an absolutely amazing job. And I don't want to talk too much because I know you haven't seen it.
I'm saving season 2 for a block. But I heard she's done great. So
it's such a good, strong episode, a brilliant introduction to Ahsoka as a live character who's been a fan favorite since her appearance. And and Filoni does literally love her like a daughter. It's he created her, and he doesn't want anything untoward to happen. He's very protective of her. So great from all them. Rangers of the Republic. I think. Is without spoiling anything for you, in Mandalorian series 2, these X-wing pilots appear over 2 episodes, and they're sort of annoying, the sort of questioning Mando what he's up to and stuff like that. And I do believe they're classes like the Rangers. So I do think there's sort of the idea might be. I wonder if it's going to be sort of. When I think Rangers, I think people who go out into the wilderness helping people. So I wonder if that's
like not policing, but like being like almost like Mountie-esque, kind of like
yes, like sort of US Marshals, but in the Old
Yeah.
West. So I
Yeah,
wonder if you can have that sort of feel to it. If it's going to be like
yeah.
a ragtag bunch of lawmen,
Yeah.
law people, law creatures.
Yeah.
Let's not label them.
Law force ghosts.
Yeah, that's it.
let's not be corporealist.
No, that's. So that's again, without knowing anything about it, it's hard to sort of get overly excited again. But it's more content, and again, obviously, more content doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be great. Talk about sort of Star Wars Resistance, which wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't a strong series for Star Wars. So it's not all gravy, but it's potential. It's another facet. It's another side of Star Wars. We're not,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping it's not like the story of a new football team in the New Republic, because that'd be pretty terrible, wouldn't it? Palpatine's got a new plan in army, and he's actually cloned a football team of himself, 11 Palpatines, the Rangers of the New Republic.
That's amazing. Pele Palpatine.
Pele Palpatine, brilliant. So moving on, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We've got the announcement for Lando. Not sure which character that series is going to revolve around. And again, nothing apart from it's Justin Simeon, and it's in very early development. So he's going to be the creator, or executive producer. But yeah, so I guess it's going to have Billy D, or at least maybe some involvement with Billy D. But also I do forget his name, and it's on the tip of my tongue. The guy who played Lando Calrissian in Solo. Yeah.
Donald Glover. Is it Donald Glover?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So
if it was a sort of a bookend where there was an episode of Young Indiana Jones where Harrison Ford was only in one episode. And he was going in a truck running away from driving away from people in the snow with a Native American chap, and he got a full beard, which because I think he just filmed Fugitive.
Yes, it would have been early 90s. Yeah.
So he was playing a little short saxophone in it as well. It's like another sort of thing we indie, but old indie, or what we class as
indie.
Yeah. He bookended that story.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you might get Lando doing his, Billy D doing his, one time against the Empire, and then Donald Glover coming in and sort of doing however they do it. I think Donald Glover was for me, it was the standout in Solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I enjoyed Solo for what it was. You could tell it had its issues.
Yeah, I did. I thought I didn't feel it was very Star Wars, but I felt it was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It did feel like a kind of an underworld. Can you keep having that Star Wars feel for everything? Like Mandalorian has that Star Wars feel, but surely at some point the shows are going to branch out a little bit and not feel like Star Wars, because the entire world, our entire world or the country doesn't feel the same to a different country. So at some point we're going to get keep the humor and things that we appreciate as and the grand scope of storytelling that we appreciate Star Wars. But at some point we're going to have a series that is a little bit feels a little bit different. So like Solo, for instance, that did feel like a part ice movie, part kind of gangster movie and stuff. But it was enjoyable, and maybe because of all the vitriol it got, I actually thought it was worth a watch, and I've never discouraged anybody from actually going to see that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of these things where they probably save towards like the end of series 1 where Aldrin Eldritch turns up, and it's like, Han's here, so let's have a couple of episodes where Han's running about, and then he can go away, so we can focus back on Lando and stuff like that. But it wouldn't bother me if they picked up on the little. Was it?
What are you doing here, Anne? I'm contract. I'm obligated by my contract.
I mean, Paul Bettany could reappear. Oh, does he die? I can't remember.
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, they could do a bit more with Maul
of course he
again,
could.
couldn't they? They
Yeah,
could go wherever they wanted to with that. So it could incorporate those elements, story threads that are left at the end of
yeah.
Solo.
Well,
Um,
I've actually got my own show that I'd like Star Wars to do. It's called
yep.
Chopping Maul, and it's Darth Maul in the wilderness, learning to become a lumberjack. Chopping Maul. You've heard it here, Disney Plus. Get it sorted.
I'll be waiting by the phone.
So then the new series, The Acolyte, which is a female-led mystery thriller. That will take viewers, apparently, which is officially quoted as taking viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic. Yeah.
Well, that's the High Republic is something they're only just touching on in the comic books, and I think and a new series of novels and things. So I wonder if that's an introduction to maybe because you've got Taika Waititi's on about doing. He's doing a Star Wars film. I don't know whether Benioff and Weiss are doing one anymore. They were going to do a trilogy, weren't they? The Game of Thrones boys.
Yeah, that would yes, yeah, but I think with some of the backlash maybe Disney have had from the episodes, especially 8 and 9, I think that was probably only bested by the backlash from Game of Thrones received.
Yeah.
So maybe like this big announcement, maybe like if 8 and 9 had gone slightly different, or if Game of Thrones had pleased a few more people, maybe we'd have maybe some of these things that we actually like speaking about today and seeing would have been vehicles for Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss and everybody. So it is interesting because if Rian Johnson's still got a trilogy and they've got a trilogy, then that is it's even more content. So that'd surprise me if they're still involved anywhere.
Well, it's still like with this having it look in a time period we've not seen, and dealing with Rising Sith or what, however they're going to play it out, is just a nice fresh look at Star Wars, and from a different from a certain point of view, it is, and so it'll be nice to see if it's an anti-hero or whether you are following the villain for once. It'll be an interesting look. So
no, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Then they went and spoke about Star Wars Visions, this is probably the one that's got me most intrigued. Most excited is Obi-Wan, but most intrigued is Star Wars Visions, which is an original series of animated short films. And it says celebrating the universe, the Star Wars universe, through the lens of the world's best Japanese anime creators, and that's coming next year. So it looks like that's well underway. So I'm wondering, Dan, are we going to get films that are already in existence? So you get like what's happened at this point. So do we see will we see like a short? It says a selection of mini films. So will we have a mini film of Luke doing more training at Hoth? The interpretation of that, the Luke versus Kylo Ren from Episode 8, because that setup was all very anime and shooting into someone that's so powerful and someone standing down all those AT-AT walkers. That looked really like it was pulled from a panel of a comic. Yeah. Just when he's got his back to the camera and you see all the walkers looking down at him. So for me, I think we may see some stuff that we've seen before, but it's obviously going to be recycled, repackaged. Yeah. Like maybe we'll see an Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader from Episode 4, and we'll see it in a more context of like a little bit more like of their fight that was from Episode 3. I don't know if you saw the fan edit on YouTube. Yeah, I mean that's very, very interesting, quite well done as well for having no budget. But it's just, I just thought that sounded really quite cool and not as very like all these series are coming out and great. And obviously I think some of them are going to go into 2022, 2023 and stuff like that. But sometimes you can get that. And my first reaction to everything was like, whoa, that is just an overload. I hope, like anything, it's like I'm cooking you a nice big bacon sandwich today, Dan. Oh, that's really nice. Here's a second one. Oh, didn't expect that. That's lovely. Here's a cup of tea. Here's some toast. It's like at some point you like all those stuff, but you start to worry about, can I manage it all?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but afterwards you think about it, you think, no, that's great. But this one just feels like the glass of water maybe next to everything. It just feels like something different that's going to like refresh the palate a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that,
It's a Star Wars sorbet.
it is, yeah. It's a lemon sorbet, mate, as well, like proper zingy and. But yeah, that's. Is there any particular thing you'd like to see like imaged or reimagined in that kind of format? Any particular existing kind of content or anything in between that could do?
I think maybe, I don't know. I'd like to see sort of that style of animation used on the lightsaber duel in Attack of the Clones between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku, and then Yoda. But I mean, I don't mind, mate. I'm honestly, I'm open to anything, and I think that's having someone put their take. I've started reading. I think it's called From a Certain Point of View, and it's all. I think they're doing a second book now, but it's all stories from A New Hope, but told by, it's like the Jawas who pick up R2 and 3PO.
Yeah,
it's told from from one of the Jawas' point of view, like when they sell them off to the Lars Homestead. So it's all the characters who you wouldn't even think about. It's like, I think they go into the cantina. It's one of the patrons who witnesses this old man cutting off some guy's arm, and
that's awesome.
you know, and it's that dude with the Wookiee again, you know, that sort of thing. And it plays along throughout the entire. So then when they get onto the Death Star, you know, it'll be like one of the.
I hope it's one of those little droids that goes doo, 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 and flies across the floor.
I think there's a mouse droid chapter. Yeah, there's a mouse. It might be the one that gets roared at, I think.
That would be brilliant. I offered him a drink, the inconsiderate arsehole. So then we've got a great segue. We've got a droid story. And that's an adventure film animation, and that involves industrial light and magic. And apparently it's an epic journey that will introduce us to a new hero guided by R2-D2 and C-3PO. Spoiler, it's BB-8.
Well, you can't get enough of R2 and 3PO, can you? It's, you know, it's Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, absolutely. They are definitely Abbott and Costello of the Star Wars. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, sorry.
I was going to say, so it's a Disney Plus film.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah, it's not a series, that one, is it? It's just a film.
Yeah, it's a film. Yeah.
The one thing I did want to say is, did you see the announcement for Rogue Squadron? Did you see the Patty Jenkins video she did on Twitter?
I've not seen the video. I've seen the I've skimmed through it. I've got a whole lot of favourite to go back and look at, but I've seen like the images from the like featurette trailer.
People, I said check out the trailer if you can. Obviously, Patty Jenkins riding high on the success of Wonder Woman. An early critical reaction to Wonder Woman 84 is that it's a fantastic 80s film that she's done. Apparently it's pretty good. So we'll have to see when that comes out at Christmas. But it started off with the announcement video for anyone who hasn't seen it, which is she's talking about speed and how it's always been a part of her life, and that she's rollerblading across tarmac.
I thought you meant the Keanu Reeves film. Then I'm going to say, bless her.
She loves speed. You take that any way you want.
I'm going to say also it could be a very different interpretation of that. Yeah.
But so she's rollerblading along. She gets to a car. She's got like an aviator, a fighter pilot's sort of uniform on, the khaki green sort of colour. And she talks about her dad was in the US Air Force, and then she come out of the base when she was youngster and watch him fly over with his squadron. And that she was always really proud to be a pilot's daughter, and he went to war and he flew missions out and stuff like that. So it's all been really important. And she says she's never found a platform to do a fighter squadron movie. And then she says, while she's doing that, she's taking her boots off and everything. She's talking directly to camera. And next thing she goes, until now. And she puts on an X-Wing pilot's helmet. She stands up and as she turns around, she's pulling on the orange overalls.
That's brilliant.
And she walks away from the camera, and there's like fighter planes all around her. But as she sort of moves off, just slightly off shot, there's an X-wing in front of her, and she's walking towards it. And I just thought, what a cool way to announce. And that's going to be a film. I think I might be wrong. Christmas 2022.
Yeah,
I think that's the next official theatrical Star Wars film, and to move, nicely sort of moving away from the, we've had the Skywalker saga, which whatever people think of the end result of that, to start Star Wars. And I wonder, I mean, Rogue Squadron typically is an original trilogy sort of team. The X-wing, obviously seeing the X-wing, seeing the helmet and the orange flight suit and everything, and it's the original trilogy orange, not like the more muted blood orange of the new trilogy. So I think they are moving away from the sequel trilogy. I think they're getting some distance, and with the success of Mandalorian and playing in that post Jedi sort of sandbox, but still looking like the original trilogy stylistically, I think that they're dipping the toe back in that quite a bit.
They'll never go wrong. They'll never go wrong with that time period.
Look at Rogue One.
Yeah,
look how successful Rogue One was.
Yeah.
And for all its messing about behind the scenes, and last minute changes and editing and stuff like that, Rogue One was immensely successful.
Absolutely.
And I would say I've not met many people who don't like it.
Yeah, no, sorry,
people said it feels more like old Star Wars, proper Star Wars, for a lot of people say, and that's because it plays directly into, it's set like the day, a couple of days before New Hope, so
Yeah, absolutely. And wasn't it the second film from Disney? Didn't we get Force Awakens, then Rogue One?
Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then I think it was Last Jedi, and then Solo.
Then Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's discussion for a different time or a different discussion. But it, again, that's probably from Disney's point of view. They kind of did a soft reboot of A New Hope, which, in my opinion, was kind of needed to and I could see why they did it, to bring that familiar feeling back and storytelling, and then adding a film in a time period, that is literally like seconds before your the first film of the original trilogy. I suppose from Disney's point of view, they couldn't have hit any more home runs than the first couple of years out of there. So no wonder they're going to revisit that period because they seem to be able to actually quite well.
Well, that leads us into the past successes that, out of the animated series. Rebels is very, very good. Clone Wars was highly successful, and Clone Wars righted a lot of upset that a lot of people did feel from the prequel trilogy. I love it or hate it.
Yeah.
You had Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith, and they completely dusted over the entire Clone Wars, which is what people had heard about. You watch the original trilogy, you go, my father, my father didn't fight in the Clone Wars. It was part, afraid about it, and it's sort of, you get little bits of information, and then it's like, oh yeah, with Attack of the Clones, it's setting up the Clone Wars in a big way, and then 3-4 years later, end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and it's gone.
yeah. It's but yeah, so Filoni came along. Obviously, it historically did Clone Wars, 5 main seasons, one series of what they called Lost Missions, which was just, they knew they were cancelled, so they wrapped it up with these little stories best they could. There wasn't a definite end to the Clone Wars. Disney Plus, God bless them, kept Filoni the chance to do a short series run, which nicely ties up a lot of character arcs, did a lot of good, and instead of replaying the end, it's like Ahsoka's final couple of stories, instead of replaying Revenge of the Sith, it shows what she was doing during the Revenge of the Sith, and then sort of ends on a really, really nice little segment where Vader turns up, but he's not. It's not nothing to do with Ahsoka. It's sort of played off quite melancholy. It's really nice. But they introduced the Bad Batch, which were a group of clones that everything had gone a little bit screwy with the the cloning, but it sort of, they were all unique. And it's nice that the clones in Clone Wars did identify. They had different markings. Some shaved their head, some had a mohawk. Some bleached their hair.
Yeah.
They all identified as individuals. But this went one further because they do look slightly different. One's gaunt, one's a bit chubby, one's hulking and whatever. And there's sort of a team of commandos who are just sent in. Like mercenaries, just because they can get the job done. So continuing their storyline.
That is the last two announcements, is the Bad Batch and Andor. Yeah. So
So I'm looking forward to that, because again, Filoni in charge, especially the animated side. It's something he's sort of really, he knows what he's doing. I'd say Resistance aside, because I think it just didn't find its feet. I don't think it knew quite.
Yeah.
Rebels started off a little bit overly family friendly and then grew up quite quickly. Clone Wars did it. It started off very child friendly and then grew up very quickly. So yes, I'm looking forward to Bad Batch. And then yes, like saying Andor, I was quite surprised about Andor, because we know where his story is going to end.
Yes. Yeah.
However, if they're doing we've had in Rebels, we have the start of the rebellion being built. But if this is in full swing, and again playing in that sandbox of the original, or just before the original trilogy, I think I watched the sizzle reel, and I was impressed by what I've been seeing. So it's, I think it could be, if it's a spy series, if it's an espionage sort of action thriller type series, that's even more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to. It's great having all these shows, but they can't all be the same. There's got to be
Absolutely
some kind of different genre to them, or some different kind of something very, like a unique selling point for something.
Yes.
And I think that hopefully we've got enough diversity within the lineup that, Obi-Wan's going to be the classic Star Wars feel. It's a continuation. We've got some nice little animation projects and stuff, and then you've got like Bad Batch that could has the potential that it doesn't feel like it's tied down by a lot. It's got it's unique and it's got potential to go anywhere. Again, the Andor one, it could be a bit of a wild card. So there's not much. I think I think we've got some positivity back after last year.
That's it. I mean, Star Wars for me is in safe hands with Favreau and Filoni running the ship. I think it's and long may they reign. It's
I think it just goes to show you that that when Disney first did purchase Star Wars, and like we said, go through the films and stuff, and I'm sure we'll do another video, we'll talk about this at different length, but when you've got the quality of two people like that around, it's like it does kind of be puzzling that those guys aren't consulted or spoken to or given a position first and foremost, not just with Star Wars, just in Lucasfilm and
But we'll see from this point forward.
Absolutely.
And there's loads to look forward to, and meanwhile we've got the finale of Mandalorian next week. It's get it done, mate. You'll not be disappointed. So from for us from now, that's been our big Star Wars news roundup. We'll be back very soon with a Star Wars special.
Absolutely. Not a holiday special. It might be a holiday special because it's during the holidays, but it's not the holiday special. So don't get too disappointed.
There's no Wookiee Life Day. Right, so thanks again, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.